Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to our math class. I realized I forgot something pretty vital. That means important. Vital is important. Your vital signs in your body are like your heart rate, your breathing rate, your oxygenation level. Those are things that are important to live. Now I'm going to scoot down here just a smidge. But as I was saying, I forgot one vital, super important thing yesterday. I forgot to talk about the stack of papers you got. So I'm going to start our class today with going over those instructions, and then we'll review the agenda and dive into our lesson. So first and most important is this yellow piece of cardstock paper you got. If you weren't here yesterday and you're popping in today, shoot me a message or let your host teacher know. That's whoever's class you're in, and I'll make sure you get one of these. These are our daily math expectations. They're the same things we expect from each other while we're in our class together. So whether you're coming to math class live in person when we're rotating, or you're doing math class in somebody else's classroom, or at home, these are the same expectations we have every day. Nothing's new. We've got Champs over here. Read through that. Our supplies are the same as always. This paper, a pencil, your notebook, or binder with paper, your notes, your laptop, your charger, same things you need every day. If you need help, there are 4 things you can do. The first is ask your seat neighbor. Turn to your neighbor, say, hey, I'm having a little trouble with this. Do you remember what Mr. Spencer said? Or do you have any idea how to solve this problem? After that, you can also ask your host teacher. Whoever's classroom you're in, they may be able to help you out. You can send me a message. Third option, send me a message on Schoology, an email, a text. Probably not actual mail. That would take a while. Or you can check in briefly with me on Teams. I'm on there. The link is on this page. It's also on our Schoology page up at the top. If you're popping in there and I'm not letting you in and I haven't sent you a message on Teams, which I probably can't do, but I'll let you in. If I haven't let you in, it's been 2 to 3 minutes, tell your host teacher. They'll shoot me a text or a call. I'm probably just away from my computer, and I'll get right there with you. Now, we've got some keys to success down here at the bottom. This is the last part of our math expectations. Super important during this time that we are not rotating classes. You are responsible for your own success. I know this is super tough. We're in 6th grade. It's hard to self-regulate to the point that we need you to, that you need to be successful. And of course, we as your teachers are there to help you along the way, but ultimately you are responsible for your own success. Stay on task during your work time. Take your time and try your best on each assignment. Take breaks as needed, but make sure they're short, measured breaks. So set a 5-minute timer, and then when that 5-minute timer is off, come back to work. Ask questions. Ask your neighbor, ask your host teacher, ask me if something doesn't make sense. Also super important, it is very easy for things to build up. If something doesn't get done today, then have more to do tomorrow plus tomorrow's. So complete assignments on the day they are assigned. And if you do not complete your assignments during school, complete them for homework. I'll be in pretty good contact with your adults at home this semester. I know I texted almost everybody yesterday, either awesome job or hey, your student didn't quite do what they needed to do. Our physical work will be turned into the math bucket. I'll be making sure to get those to our other host teachers today. And then our last key for success is to help make a great learning environment for your for your classmates. That's the people around you. If you support them, they will support you. So that one is huge. Have this out with you every day. If you have questions, this is going to be questions about processes, procedures. This is going to be the best place to go. The second paper you got, and you'll get every day, is our assignment sheet. It'll have your assignments for the day. It'll have places for ELA and science as well as intervention. That is a place where you can check off the things that you need to do in our class. Make sure you are doing them in order. All right. Up next, we have our notes. This is our wonderful lesson 5. We started it yesterday. We'll continue it on and finish it today. Just like if we were in class all together. And then last for today, you did not have this yesterday, but you do today, we have some homework. So you will get your homework as well. This is designed to do at the very end if you have time or for homework at home. All right, without further ado, I will kick this off, kick it over here. Wrong button, kick it over here, and we'll get, oh, I forgot about our agenda. Mr. Spencer, what's going on? All right, our agenda for today is pretty super short. We are going to start with our lesson video. In our lesson video, now that we've gone over all the intense stuff, we are going to have a number talk, then we're going to finish up lesson 5. Once we've gotten through this video, your assignments for today are to complete the problem set, numbers 1 through 8. This will be turned in. It will be graded. Is the expectation that you have it finished today, but I will collect it today, check it, and then hopefully give it back to you right away. Up next, number 3 on our agenda is our math facts. It is math facts 47 today. It is in our Schoology page. Sweet, there we go. Step number 4 is to complete any unfinished work you have from yesterday. Remember, it is now overdue at this point, but I do want to make sure you get on top of yesterday's stuff before it snowballs and gets bigger and bigger. And then the last thing, number 5, is your homework. Again, it looks just like this. It is your homework. It'll be good. We do have a discussion post as well again today. It's not explicitly in our agenda because it is under our number talk. I'll make sure I add that in explicitly as well. All right, and now I'm going to kick it over there. Wrong button, wrong button. There we go, kick it over there for our number talk today. Today's another same but different, and it looks kind of similar to yesterday's. But I want you to think about a way that this side is the same as this side and a way that it is different. So we've got one similarity and one different. Now this discussion post for today is going to be graded. It is 100 points. You get 40 points for having one similarity, one way they are the same. You get 40 points for having one difference, one way that they are different. You get 10 points for having proper grammar, capital letters, and punctuation. Every sentence must start with a capital letter and end with some sort of punctuation, a period, a question mark, an exclamation point. And then your final 10 points comes from proper spelling. Now, a tip from me to you, type your response in Microsoft Word because that will spell check it for you. You'll get somewhere close. And then copy and paste your answer that are your words, not someone else's. We're not copy and pasting someone else's. We're not copy and pasting from the internet, but copy and paste your words just from that Microsoft Word document to your response once it's been spell checked. It'll also help with your grammar. Unfortunately, at this point, Schoology does not spell check nor do grammar checking. So use the tools you have available. I myself type it in something else and then copy and paste it over. But that is our number talk. Please respond to that in our discussion post for today. And then without further ado, we'll pick up where we left off yesterday. So this is what we touched on last. We looked at going from, we have frozen. I have frozen. That's really awkward. I don't know if I'm recording or not right now. All right. We will continue this in just a moment. I got to plug in my computer. All right, it looks like we are back and at it. Sorry about that there, y'all. I promise I will get better about my recordings and my videos. Spend some time editing these too. There we go. We're back and live. So yesterday we looked at forming exponents in exponential form. Like this, we went from expanded form to exponential form with our base and our exponent. And then we went from our base and our exponent to expanded form. Now we learned yesterday, it doesn't have to be a number, it can be a letter. Our base can also be a fraction or a decimal. So our base can be a fraction, a decimal, it can be a letter. It does not matter what the base is, especially because so far we have not been solving it for an exact number. All right, but we're going to go back through examples 1 to 4. And our first step here says go back to examples 1 to 4 and use a calculator to evaluate the expression. So it does not say number 5. We're not doing that number. but we are going to calculate these. So if I go into my calculator, I just have to multiply 5 times, 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Ooh, I went too far there, y'all. 5 times 5, there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. It is 3,125. Now, what is super cool is if you are on your computer calculator, you can totally do this. I realized you couldn't see my phone as I did that. So we are doing 2 to the 4th power. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to put in 2x to the y. Type in 4. And it has just given me 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16. And you can always check that yourself by just clearing that out, going 2 times 2, that's 2 2's, 3 2's, 4 2's, equals 16 as well. So 2 to the 4th power is 16. It's a little faster doing it that way, and you don't have to worry about counting the number of times you're multiplying that base by itself, which can get really, really tedious, really boring doing it many times, and hard to keep track of. So I'll try number 3 as well. Actually, you go ahead and do numbers 3 and 4, put those into your calculator, and come up with your answer. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Take about 15 more seconds to get your 2 answers down, and then we will move on. All right, that is our time. This first one, 8 to the 3rd power. Remember, we read that as 8 to the 3rd power. In this case, we can also read it as 8 cubes, but we'll talk about that at some point as well, is 512. 8 times 8 is 64. 64 times 8 is 512. And then here, 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 is equal to 1 million. All right, now that we've got those down 1 through 4, we are not evaluating, we're not solving number 5 because you can't multiply g unless you know what number g represents. So, but we do have a question here that says, what is the difference between 3g and g to the 3rd power? Well, here, this 3g, we have 3 times the letter g. And then g to the 3rd power, we have g times g times g. And these two are not the same. We'll talk some more about how we could evaluate that differently. But again, that is not, g to the 3rd power is not 3 times g. 2 to the 4th power was not 2 times 4. It was 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 4 times. All right, so now we're moving on to some with decimals. Number 6 says, write the expression in expanded form and then evaluate. Evaluate means solve. So here we have our base of 3.8, 3 and 8/10. So we're going to take our base, and we're going to ask ourselves, how many times do we need to multiply 3 and 8/10 by itself? Well, our exponent is 4, so we need 4 3.8s, 3 and 8/10, 3 and 8/10 times 3 and 8/10 times 3 and 8/10. And of course, because we have an exponent, the sign that goes between them, our operation is multiplication. So then we're going to take a look at this in our calculator. I'm using my phone. We're going to do 3.8, 3 8/10 times 3 8/10 times 3 8/10 times 3 8/10. That was 4 3 8/10. And our answer was 208 and 5,136 10,000ths. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and do the opposite. We just went from exponential form to expanded form. Now we're going from expanded form to exponential form. We're going to ask ourselves, what number is our base? Well, what number are we multiplying by itself? That is 2 1/10. 2 1/10. And we're going to ask ourselves, how many times are we multiplying that 2 1/10 by itself? 1, 2 times. So our exponent is 2. And then we're going to solve this. So you can either put it in your calculator, 2 1/10 times 2 1/10. You get 4 41/100. Or if you have your calculator on your computer spread out like this, if you need help setting your calculator on your computer to look like this, let your host teacher know and we can help you out. You can do 2 1/10 to the second power, and you get 4 41/100. So our answer there is 4 41/100. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to do number 8. Again, we have our expression in expanded form, so we want to write the expression in exponential form and then evaluate, solve it. So we're going to ask ourselves, what is the base? Why, I know that base is 75/100. Now we're going to ask ourselves, what is the exponent? How many times are we multiplying 75/100 by itself? 1, 2, 3. So our exponent is 3. Now I'm going to pull out our calculator here and do 75/100 to the third power. And we get this big long number. Oops, so sorry, I messed that up. Let me try that again. 75/100 to the third power. We get 421,875 millions. Now that is a very long decimal place. Not something we'd see in our day-to-day lives, but a lot of times if you were looking at some different scientific things, possibly the number of bacteria in a sample, you might start to get numbers that big and even big. Or I guess that small and even small. If you were measuring the size of really tiny things like bacteria, then you would use numbers this small and this long, and sometimes you have to be that accurate. So we are going to put that as our answer. And so 75/100 cubed, that's another way to say it, to the third power. 421,875 millions. We're going to skip writing these as a fraction just for now. And we'll do our last two together before I set you free. Again, going from our expanded form to exponential form, our base is the number we're multiplying repeated times. Our base is 1/2. And our exponent is the number of times we're multiplying 1/2 by itself. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1/2. So our exponent is going to be 3. And then if we solve that, we're going to have to multiply this together. Ooh. So I'm going to do that off to the side here. 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 Now we're multiplying fractions. 1 times 1 times 1. Remember, when we multiply fractions, we just multiply the numerators, then multiply the denominators. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. And 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 again is 8. So our answer is 1/8. And our last one we're going to take on together, we are going to write down 2 different words, and then I will set you free. But the last one we take on together, we have this number in exponential form, and we're just going to write it in expanded form and then solve. So we have 2 2/3 to the second power. So our base is what's in the parentheses. Now it is important when we are writing, and I forgot to do that up here, so I've got to do that now. We've got to put our 1/2, that fraction, in parentheses. Got to put that 1/2 in parentheses, because otherwise you would just multiply the top number. So anytime we're going with a fraction to exponential form, make sure we put those parentheses in there. But we have 2/3 times itself 2 times, so 2/3, 2/3. We have 2 2/3, and we are going to put a multiplication sign between them. And now that we have a fraction multiplication problem, just multiply our numerators. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 3 is 9. Now, there is a special name that we have talked about before for numbers raised to the second power. So if you have this n is just any sort of number, a 1, a 2, a 5, a 7, a 272, to the second power. Now we could read that as n to the second power, a number to the second power, but we also have talked about this to the second, when we put that 2 there, it's squared. So that means squared. That's like when we're finding area, we do length times width, and we end up with a number of units squared. So square miles, miles squared. And then we're going to do the same thing, but with a 3. And when we're finding volume, we're thinking of unit cubes. Cubes are 3-dimensional boxes. So when we have that 3, a number to the third power is cubed. That is finding our third dimension. Now, as we wrap up our video, you're going to take on exercises 1, 2, 3, and 4 on your own. Take on exercises 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is our classwork for today. And then you're also going to take on our problem set, and that is your independent practice. So exercises 1 to 4, problem set 1 to 8, then do our math facts. There you go. If you have any questions, please let me or your host teacher know. Also, feel free to ask your seat neighbor at a level 1 where you can whisper to them. That way you can say, hey, do you know the answer? Or how do I get to the answer? I am stuck on this step. What do I do? I hope they'll be happy to help you. If not, ask your host teacher or ask me. Have a wonderful day, Trojans. Go math.